Hello. We will be talking about women in Taiwan. Specifically, we will talk about what it was like for them in the past, how it is now in comparison, some problems that they face today, and possible solutions that will raise awareness or solve their problems. In the past, the status of women was lower. They were seen as inferior to men, and they were to obey them. Before marriage, a woman had to obey her father. During marriage, she had to obey her husband. If her husband passes away, then the woman would then have to obey her son. In some cases, families of the deceased husband would adopt another man to lead the family and to be the woman's new husband. In general, women were to stay at home and do all the work around the house. They had to raise children and did not have much formal education. Their families basically planned their whole lives for them, as they do not have much say on the matter. Foot binding was also practiced, where women crushed and confined their own feet to a much smaller size. This was an ideal standard for women, as it could attract potential husbands. However, in reality, the foot binding practices were very painful and restricted their mobility and power. It ensured that the woman would stay at home and be obedient to her husband. Fortunately, in the early 1900s, anti foot binding societies and organizations emerged and brought awareness to how unethical the practice was. And as a result, less women practiced it and were able to go out and have more autonomy. Throughout the 20th century, more women acquired elementary level education, which then opened up more opportunities for them. This was where things started to change greatly.
Up until now, well, the first thing I'm going to mention is going to be the Civil Code of the Republic of China, which was implemented in Taiwan in 1945. And this allowed for legal status of women to be elevated. So rights were granted, and as a result, more women were able to take part in the labor force, and they were able to vote, and they were able to be involved in affairs, whether that was socially or politically. And then there are two waves that I am going to mention. There was a women movement in 1970s, and this was a social movement that was sort of correlated with the democratic movement. It pushed not only growth for social movement, but also for the environment. And this socioeconomic structure shift from agriculture to industrialism allowed for women to enter the workforce. And then also the generation born after World War II grew into a much larger abundance of education and influences, and that was due to the Western wave of feminism, and allowed them to push their education further. And then there is the second wave, which is the Awakening and Homemakers United Foundation, and that took over in the 1980s. Both of these groups were really influential groups of feminism in Taiwan. The Awakening was created based on the idea to promote female empowerment and also root for women's rights. This was able to get abortion legalized in 1984 with the eugenic bill for the protection of health, and as well as the 2004 Gender Equity Education Act. And then the Homemakers United Foundation was created on giving housewives and mothers a voice outside of the domestic box that they had been placed in. So it rooted for their equality, but still wanted to implement the rules that Taiwan followed in for families. So, are women still experiencing problems now? Well, power of social groups is vast, but it's also limited. So the awakening did allow for conversations to start. It allowed for conversations regarding abortion, prostitution, gender discrimination, family law, and employment of migrant female workers to be more. Um, it just allowed it for other people to take part in the conversation in order to get more stuff done. But roles in society still create a debt in women's lives. So the Homemakers United Foundation, although it does promote equality, it also does believe in roles. So there's only so much that they can do. Um, but yeah.
Some people today still hold traditional beliefs. They believe that women should focus more on marrying than their own jobs or careers, and they should also be married to a superior man, one who is more educated and successful than them. In addition, lower income families will prioritize educating their sons over their daughters if they do not have enough money to have multiple children go to school. Women are also expected to do most of the housework and raising their children in comparison to men. Many women also experience domestic abuse from their partners. With work, women are expected to do their jobs and raise their children at the same time. This is a lot of work, and in some cases, their husbands do not help much with raising their children or doing the housework. More women are working now, around 51% of them in 2015. However, as they get older, less of them are seen working. As they approach their 30s, women are expected to marry, quit their jobs, and focus on starting a family. For the women who do start families, some of them have difficulty balancing the workload with raising children and their jobs. And as a result, they end up quitting their jobs to focus on their family. Also, there are other problems that women face at work, such as lower pay in comparison to men and harassment due to their gender. Some people in society have traditional views still, like the idea that women are inferior to men and that their place is at home raising children. These views can cause unfair treatment to women. Although these views are not as common as they used to be, they still exist today. There are also beauty standards that women feel pressured to conform to, like having fairer skin, smaller faces, bigger eyes, and so on. We can see that many of the problems women in Taiwan face today stem from their statuses and roles in previous times. The outdated beliefs about women are passed down from older generations, influencing some people today, and that is reflected in their actions and how they treat women.
Change this. Well, getting involved is definitely one way to allow for change. So these organizations have already proven to work in shifting views as well as statuses for women. Homemakers United Foundation is a grassroots organization and it helped gain mobilization post martial law due to the large amount of women that were joining, and it was focused more locally. So the members were housewives and women rather than, going for a more larger scale. But being involved can be seen in very different ways. So physically joining is one way, getting attention online, so like social media, helping fund the organization, donations always help, as well as just helping organize and coordinate events with the organization. So yeah, just as a recap, Taiwan can be seen as a society with both a stagnant but yet fluctuating standpoint when it comes to women and the role that they should take in society. Um, Gender played a role in such status, and this can be economically, politically, and socially. But groups and organizations were able to create a shift. As well as Western waves of feminism influencing women in Taiwan for that first wave of feminism. And although progress has been done, there's still more that can be made. There's always more that can be achieved. But yes, and this is our references. Thank you.